What's up, guys? Let's mess with Mindtest. Okay, so we are going to be talking about groups today, and you have probably messed around with groups. They are a part of registering nodes, and I think that craft items might also be a part of groups. Hang on. At any rate, whether it is or isn't, let's talk about groups. So what is groups? There are a couple functions. Well, there's basically two that are outlined in this book. Firstly, it can define properties of a node. And secondly, they have to do with crafting. So for instance, if I was to make a torch, I need coal and wood. Now, you don't have to, in your recipe, you don't have to add every single type of wood. You can simply assign a wood group to your recipe. And so anything that is in that wood group will work. So here's an example of a group assignment. First of all, we notice that it is a table because it has these curly braces, and which means that every single entry in this table needs to be followed by a comma to be safe. You can just go ahead and add a comma after that. You technically don't have to if it's the last item in your table. However, so there's predefined groups that you can call upon for property allocation and group assignment. So here we have the first property assignment, and it's cracky, and there's some sort of number that follows it. So what does this number have? What's the significance of this number? I'll get into that in a little bit. But before we go anywhere else, let's talk about the last one, which is the group assignment. And this is actually where it gives it assigns this thing, and it looks, yes, so it assigns this node, if you will, or craft item maybe, into the wood category, like I was talking about, so that when you're creating that torch, you can actually use this node, which is in the woods group. So that is the groups there. And then here we have an example of a craft recipe, which is using the groups wood as part of the recipe, right? And this is how you would reference it by saying group : wood. Now, what groups can you assign your node to? Assign your thing to? Let's get into that. So the first place that I would go if you're wanting more information about where is that thing? There it is. If you're wanting more information about a part of the language or a method or whatever it might be, is go to your docs folder in your Mindtest installation and then pull up the Lua API. And I like to pull it up in Notepad++, just easier to read it, right? So, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to search group, and more than likely this is going to give me everything. Yeah, it's really not the best way to go about this. Well, and that actually pulled it up there. You have groups, and then underneath it was a bunch of equal signs. So that's like a header, I think. Anyway, so this should explain more details about groups. So in this Lua API, it gives us all the information that we need about groups. And the way that they describe groups is, or they define what it's for, is that it provides the engine or other mods the definition or the way in which they're to interact with that node. So, for instance, you can make something crumbly, as we've seen in the past, and that gives that node certain functionality and interactability, right? So when you hit it, it will actually break apart, and so that those are groups, and that's what they're for. Now, what ones are available, like I began to search for, As we scroll down, first of all, I should show you that equal signs mean that's a header, right? So that's a main section. And then the single is like a subsection, and I think there's there's hashtags in here somewhere, but I guess not in this oh yeah, there was one. So this is some other subsection, I believe. So there's some syntax to how to read the Lua API. Anyways, so as we go down, we can see usage is a great thing, is great to read. For instance, it talks about the number that follows a group type and what is it for. So typically, in any table, you have keys and values. You have a key value pair. So you have some word, and then it's assigned or set equal to some sort of value. So this has to be there. On some of these groups, there's not any maybe benefit to having a larger number than 1. So you can choose between 0 or 1, and that's basically on or off. And a good example of this is given here as in the textbook, wood. You can't make it any more wood-ish because that's simply a group assignment. So it's either a part of the wood group or it's not. Now, if you just write wood, the default value that it will assign to wood is 0, and I think that means that it won't be of the wood group. So be sure to give it some sort of assignment if you intend for it to actually be in the wood group. Otherwise, don't write wood, right? I mean, what's the point? So that's the usage that we were talking about. Then we get into actually the different types of groups, and you can see here that you can assign groups to items, to nodes, to entities, which we haven't gotten into, to tools, which again we haven't gotten into, and here this section talks about groups in crafting recipes. This is where we're putting group before. And is there a list? I don't know. I haven't found one on the Lua API yet of all of the group types, but here are some examples. We've got meat, water, and bowl. So you can assign different groups, right? You guys get that. Here's special groups, and this is actually going to start breaking down in this subsection the different types of groups and what they do. For instance, here is the slippery. And so you can, let's see, slippery. Players and items will slide on the node, right? Slipperiness rises steadily with the slippery value starting at 1. So that's a pretty clear description of what it is and how it works. So you can increase that all the way up to, as they note here in the Lua API, they say that you can go anywhere from negative 32,000 all the way to 32,776. So that would be an extremely slippery block if it was all the way there. I assume. I don't know. I've never tried it. So anyway, so these are some different. These are some of the different groups, right? So we've got node-only groups. We've got tool-only groups. Here's a fun one. The object reference groups, and that actually pertains to object references, which you in the game, you would be an object reference. There's also mods that are part of the object reference category, and so, but we haven't gotten into that. So that would define, as you can see here, immortal. That makes you immune to everything. That's pretty cool. Here we have some known damage and digging time definition groups. So these all I've seen in the node assignments, but I assume these are not just restricted to node definitions, but to other things as well. So I don't know how crumbly could be defined to anything else. But so anyway, so this is a pretty good reference. The other reference that I'd like to draw your attention to, but is less reputable, maybe less accurate, is the wiki Mindtest Groups, and this gives you sort of a dated view of what groups are available. I think it gives you a more comprehensive, which is kind of strange. I don't know if that should be the case, and probably is just a matter of me looking harder on the Lua API. But at any rate, so this is another place you can come to. Nice thing about it, it's just a little more readable. You can click around and get the information that you want. And this also breaks the groups into the what was the terminology again? It was special and regular. I can't remember, but it kind of breaks the groups into two sections here as well. So anyways, that's what I got for you for your assignment today. I want you to create a node and use a couple, let's just say 10 different groups, apply them to items and apply them to nodes. So maybe just a handful or as many as you can for the items, because I don't know how many there are actually for items. But I should see a lot for your one node. I want to see a bunch of groups and just make something fun. Make it do crazy things. Extremely slippery. I don't know. Just bouncy. There's blocks you can assign, make you bounce off of them. So yeah, that's what I want you to do. Get to work.